On our morning show get-together from WRCO today, we have Coach Andy Troxel in the studio with us, and we also have Sheila Troxel to make sure that he behaves himself this morning. Joining us, we're talking about summer programs, and we're going to introduce you to something called Buzz Bucks as well. I'm kind of fascinated about that subject, but here we are. Your summer is starting to get underway, Coach.
It is. It goes faster every single year, it seems like, and so this summer doesn't offer any shortage of programming. We've kind of upped things a little bit, especially with the WIAA coming out with unlimited contact. So whether you're from Richland Center or a surrounding school district, there's plenty of things to do with our youth program.
Tell me a little bit about the WIAA ruling then for contact days. How's that changing now?
Yeah, so the WIAA recently passed unlimited contact for all sports. And I think they just got tired of kind of regulating, how many contact days coaches could have with their kids. And so they opened up the lid and just kind of let everything out, So this is very similar to what other states around us are doing. I know when I taught and I coached in Iowa, we had unlimited contact down there. So coming back to Wisconsin actually was kind of refreshing that you only had 5 contact days, so everybody could enjoy a summer. And so it'll be interesting to see, how different school districts kind of approach this. I know probably in rural areas, we have a lot of athletes that do multiple sports. And so coaches just have to be on the same page with kind of sharing athletes to allow these kids to do a little bit of everything. In urban centers and situations, it's a different ballgame.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that allows, as you mentioned, coaches are probably going to have to put together like a little bit of a puzzle to say, okay, we get the kids on Monday night, you get them Tuesday, that kind of thing if they're in multiple sports. Yeah,
we actually sat down earlier this week and we had that exact conversation. So our AD, Laura Selgaby, got all our head coaches together and she said, all right, okay, this is what the WIAA has afforded us. And so now we got to figure it out, So it was really actually kind of nice to sit down with Brian and Ryan, and other head coaches too, and just kind of look at how this is all going to work. And actually worked out pretty nicely.
Good.
To have league games for baseball and basketball, those kind of go opposite days, and then our stuff kind of is peppered in, throughout the summer. And so only a couple conflicts, but it was nice to kind of have that collective shared understanding of how we're going to do this so we don't burn kids out.
Football has 7-on-7, correct? Are you involved in that this year?
Yeah, we've been doing that for about 7 or 8 years. And that really kind of started in just kind of small little offerings that we had with local area schools. And now that's really kind of exploded, in southwest Wisconsin, but also across the state. So our youth program, it's open to any area kid. A lot of center kids go. And so our first one is going to be June 21st. We'll take a crew down to Platteville. And that's nice. You have about 14 or 15 southwest Wisconsin schools. And then the very next day, we head up to UW-Oshkosh, and so we have a lot of schools that we see that we won't see unless we're deep in a playoff situation with that. And so it's nice to just see different levels of competition. So that's not the WIA, but it's the UW-Oshkosh 7-on-7 state championships. Also, weightlifting comes into play for all sports in the summer, doesn't it? It does. So we offer 3 different sessions throughout the week, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday. There's a 5:30 a.m. session. You're not going to see me at the 5:30 a.m. session. A lot of our varsity kids, though, they're chomping at the bit and they're ready to go. I'll be there at the 6 a.m. session, though.
You're sleeping in a half hour then.
I need any beauty rest that I can get, believe me. 5:30 in the morning, 6:15 in the morning. Those run for about an hour and a half or so. And then for those people that aren't early birds, right, we have a 5:30 p.m. session. And so we just want to offer these opportunities for kids Monday, Wednesday, Friday that we can kind of work with and around their schedule, because strength development is so critical to whatever sport you play. And it's open to anybody, right? We're not going after just football kids. If you run cross country, or you play soccer, you do this, you do that. It's kind of an open invitation for you.
Makes quite a difference, doesn't it?
It does. That was one of the conversations that we had earlier this week with Coach Paul. He goes, we are a beneficiary when it comes down to the strength and conditioning program. We love, that you guys get them ready right in the summer, right, and they roll right from a football season into a basketball season, and they're ready, they're conditioned, they're durable, because that's a grueling season, winter months and whatnot. So it's kind of nice to hear that it is benefiting not just our program, but all programs, with the kids that participate in our strength and conditioning program.
Tell me about your youth programs. Do you have quite a few of those set up for the summer?
Yeah, we do. And our first one is going to be June 27th and 28th. And that is something that we've done. Actually, it was born out of COVID. There's an outfit out of Mount Horeb. It's called the OSA Academy, or the Off-Season Academy. And these are guys that were stellar prep athletes in high school, some of which have gone on to UW-Whitewater, won some national championships there. And so their basis was, all right, when schools only had 5 contact days, let us come on site, let us coach this, let us do that for you so that you don't have to, so kids can have more football experience right throughout the summer. Now with the new WIAA change with contact, they're kind of in limbo with that, but these guys do such a phenomenal job. I won't hesitate to bring them in year after year, because the cost of camps, you're looking at $400 to $500 to go 2 to 3 hours in any given direction, and we offer that for $150 right here in our backyard. And these guys are great. They're wonderful with the kids. They know their stuff. And so this is open to anybody. We've had a lot of center kids, obviously, but North Crawford, they've been in attendance. We would love to have Ithaca and Riverdale, Hillsboro, Kickapoo. I think we've had some Valley interest. So it's just basically offering the opportunity for kids to become a better football player in their respective position.
What's the age group in that?
So that one will be middle school and high school.
Okay.
And so what we'll do is we'll kind of section those guys off. So, if you have more of a newfound experience, right, with football, you'll be with like-minded and likability, and then the high school kids are going to push a little bit harder. They're going to challenge you. So these guys do a fantastic job teaching the fundamentals, but also giving them opportunities to really kind of grow in kind of the technical side of playing football. So it's tough work. They're going to push hard, but it's not going to be a screaming match or anything like that, right? They really want to make sure that you are sound. So when you go back to whatever your home program is, that you're a contributor once you come around to fall ball.
Right. And when you get into camp in early August, you're going to be ahead of other players, I'm sure, too, aren't you?
Oh, no question. Absolutely. Like any sport, football is very, very technical, especially in the trenches. And I think that's where they have a lot of impact with their O-line and their D-line stuff. And so if kids know what to do in those situations, they're going to perform better for whatever program that is. So that's really kind of our June programming. July looks a little bit different. We kind of go full steam once we get to July with the things that we offer too.
Are you going to have the Brady Ewing camp again this year?
Yeah, actually talking to Brady, what we're going to do is something a little bit different this year. Historically, we've had 3 days with the Brady Ewing Youth Camp, and we have kids just kind of rotate with different stations. And so this year, we've actually broken it up. So the Brady Ewing Youth Camp is going to be 3 days, but it's going to be just for running backs and linebackers. So therefore, we've added the Hog Academy. And so that'll be a 3-day camp too. And so that'll focus on just O-line and D-line. And then we have the Ball Hawk Academy, which are wide receivers and defensive backs. So our thought process with this is that we really want to dive in and get very technical with our youth, in terms of what do they do in those respective positions. Now, granted, a kid might change, they might grow 6 inches, right, and gain 50 pounds, and they might no longer be a running back or a quarterback, right? But at that level, we kind of have a general idea where kids are going to go. And kids can jump around, right? So we're really excited about offering that more specific, instruction on those positions. So, yes, we have the Brady Ewing camp. We're excited for that. The Hog Academy, O-line, D-line, and the Ball Hawk Academy with DBs and wide receivers. And with all of our camps, we try to keep it super affordable. We're not here to get rich on this stuff. It's $25 a head. But with any of our camps or any of our opportunities, if finances or cost is an issue, we do offer scholarships with that kind of stuff, just to make sure that any kid that wants to become a better football player or be around it or be with their friends, that cost is not an issue for them. That is a core pillar in our philosophy with our youth program.
You're listed as president of the summer camps. Is it a whole committee, or you got elected, or how did that happen?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. So this is kind of my brainchild. Back in, I think, 2019 is when we officially established Hornet Youth, or Hornet Football Summer Camps. And then over time, I know Greg Shep did a wonderful job with our youth football program, but just decided that he was going to kind of step away and kind of move on to other projects. And so he approached me and said, would you be interested in kind of taking this over? And I said, yeah, absolutely. It would be great now to have kind of a good, solid youth program that kind of rolls into a middle school program and then ultimately to our high school program. So I oversee the day-to-day operations, kind of the big picture stuff with a lot of that. But I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't say Chris Clerkin is a huge aspect of how this program runs, especially in the fall. I mean, that guy works tirelessly, to make sure that our fall flag, our fall tackle program, that stuff kind of goes off without a hitch. And there's not a guy you're going to see in Southwest Wisconsin that works harder than Chris. So, Chris kind of taking the lead as our youth director. Michael Starks is on board. He's our treasurer, and then we have a board as well. So it takes all of us to do this, and so we've been really pleased with the programs we're able to offer throughout the year, but also how many kids are kind of jumping on board. And nationally, right, numbers are kind of dwindling with a lot of sports. I mean, some are exceptions, right, with girls wrestling and things like that. But we have been very pleased to see our numbers actually improve and increase, all the way from 6th grade down to kindergarten.
It's a real change lots of times of the climate, and I think you've kind of got that maybe over the hump a little bit, and where kids want to come out and be a part of it, right? Yeah,
I think one of the smartest things that we did is we really went kind of all in on our flag opportunities with kids, whether that be in fall flag or the spring flag league that we just finished a few weeks ago. It just allows every kid to kind of be part of it, right? They get to be a wide receiver, even if they're 200 pounds in 5th grade, right? But it's that camaraderie. And that's the big thing, is we want kids to kind of feel a part of it. And it's not the heavy hitting stuff, because I don't know if we benefit much, from a lot of heavy hitting stuff at the youth level. And I think parents have really appreciated that there are alternatives where they can play football, but they don't have to worry about the contact piece at this age, and so we can gradually kind of get kids ready and roll them into what it's like, to deliver a hit or get hit, right, in that capacity as we go forward.
So if parents are interested and they're listening this morning, what's the best way to find out more information or contact you, Coach?
So we are very active on Facebook. A lot of our youth programs will be posted or will be coming up here shortly. But our website is where all of that stuff currently is listed and registration is live. And so the website is rchornetfootball.com. And when they go to the website, you'll see the second tab. It says football programs. If they hover over that, there's a whole drop-down menu with all of those programs. And so our registration is completely online. And so it's fairly intuitive and easy to use to get kids kind of plugged in. So we know that, June is kind of a quiet month, especially as school just ended. But, we anticipate numbers and registrations are going to start to go up here and probably the end of the month, but definitely probably in the week or two prior, that's when they really go through the roof. So keep an eye on us on social media. We've got a bunch of activity going on there with some other programs we'll talk about today, but then our website, that's where you're going to find a lot of that registration that's currently open for summer, and then fall is going to be open here shortly.
Well, we want to learn about Buzz Bucks. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, you know what? When it comes to fundraising for our youth program, I think we have tried everything. Just like a lot of programs, they want to find a way that they can generate revenue. I mean, things are just getting more expensive, right? Year in and year out. And I don't foresee that changing. And so when it comes to Buzz Bucks, this, I would say, has been years in the making, but months in production. And what the program is similar to is COVID Cash, if people are familiar with that happened about 5 years ago, is we wanted to find a way to give back to local business. And all too often we go, with our youth program, we've gone to local businesses and said, we would like to offer this opportunity. Would you sponsor us? Whether in the form of just a cash donation, or maybe that's in the form of, a t-shirt sponsorship or whatever, but we recognize that businesses get hit up a lot. And so we have been thinking about, how do we fix this? How do we address this, right? So it can help our youth program, but we can also give back to those businesses and local sponsors that have been so good to us, over decades. And so what Buzz Bucks is people can go and they can buy a card. And then you've got a beautiful card there. They can see this on our website.
I do, yes. Nice one. It sticks right out.
Yep. And so they buy it for $10 and immediately worth $20. And that $20 then can be spent at any one of our participating businesses. So I don't know about you, but I mean, if I could double my money, I would do that in a heartbeat. So with this, those cards are sold every week. We want to make sure it's a slow release so everybody has a chance to purchase them if they want to. What we've seen is a lot of people will buy the max at 10 cards a day. So they buy $100 worth and instantly worth $200 in spending value. And then they just kind of go around, whether you want to go and you want to buy an oil change at TC Auto Works, right? Or go get, some baked goods at Christie's, or get a facial, at Inspired Innovations. There's lots of things that are there. And so last week was our first rollout with this program. We had people waiting at the door, before we even opened. That was at Royal Bank, and we'll be at Royal Bank again tomorrow from 9 to 11. I think the word has gotten out. I think people know what it is. I think they're excited, and I think the line's going to be a little bit longer. But we have only a limited supply that we kind of put in circulation. So if folks are interested in this, they can check out our website. The whole program is broken down. The website has all the sponsors there as well. But I don't anticipate we're going to be there very long. It's pretty cool. And I think businesses are pretty excited that it's something different than just asking for money, right? There's an opportunity to kind of give back. And certainly we've seen some really cool stuff with this program, that businesses have the opportunity to just donate to the general fund, or they can sponsor other businesses. So that's been really cool to see people jump on board and want to participate, but also sponsor this other business. And it's truly a community fundraiser. And that's one of the things that I'm so excited about it, is that not only is giving back to them, but it's like everybody's on board, and it's a win-win-win for everybody.
Yeah. And I think it's really cool. You don't get an opportunity to double your money like that very often, do you?
No, absolutely not. So, like I said, I had some conversations with people that have done things similar in the past. Just want to make sure it was done right. And I think we've cracked the code, and we're super excited about it.
All right. Well, you've got the approval of your mom, so that's a good thing as well. Good morning, Sheila.
Good morning, Phil.
Yeah. Buzz Bucks. It sounds like the business community has really responded well to this.
They are. When Andy had this idea to do this and mold it after the COVID Caring Cash, I love the idea of not only supporting the kids program, but giving back to the local businesses and also the nonprofits. Businesses are so good to give back to so many fundraisers, sporting events, just any type of program going on, but it does get very expensive for them, because you want to support all of them, and sometimes that's really hard to do. I did reach out to Mick Cosgrove to make sure it was okay with him if we kind of stole his idea, and because Mick and Southwest Partners put it all together, and it was incredibly successful during COVID. It brought back over $250,000 to our local economy. I have also loved the Pay It Forward, not only supporting businesses, but also nonprofits. So, for example, Mick Cosgrove and Heartland Trees bought one for the American Legion. Richards Insurance bought one for Patchwork Acres at the farmers market. I can't accept the BuzzBucks through because I work through Airbnb, but my Airbnb, Twin Pines Ridgetop, they bought one for Richland Rescue. We also bought one for Amy Bindle for her Grace Flower Walk, but then she had to close early, so then we bought one also for Samantha Sweets at the farmers market. Southwest Partners stepped in. They bought one for the Family Thrift Shop, and they also bought one for the new owners of the Pine River Paddle. Wallace Cooper and Elliott bought one for the Dairy Breakfast this Sunday. So you can buy the BuzzBucks and spend it at the dairy breakfast. And that we reached out to Annette, and she said that she would accept it. I thought one of the coolest stories that I had was we had a local business who bought one for the Richland Family Restaurant. So the Richland Family Restaurant, Dino and Al loved the idea. So then they bought one for the Dario. And I thought that was cool because that was their direct competition. But like Dino said, they're really good people. And I just want you to know, I did buy you one, Phil, so you can go up and load up on Ski Pop at the Dario.
Man, and it's green in color too. It'll match my ski.
But I want to say, keep in mind that any individual can buy one for their nonprofit. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a business. We have had individuals purchase them to pay it forward to someone else. So I think that's the true meaning of the program, is to support the kids, but also to give back to the community and support these nonprofits that they're always looking for revenue to come in to support their programs.
How does it work then if you buy it for another business and give it to someone? How do they know it's that business, or how does that come into play? Coach?
That might be something, we'll refer that back to Andy.
Oh, okay. You got your laptop out.
I do. I'm all professional. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Wow, I'm impressed.
So on our website, it'll have the list of participating businesses, right? But underneath that, it'll tell you who they've been sponsored by.
Oh.
And so that's where we can see exactly, what that kind of looks like. And what's cool about this is that this list is growing by the day and by the week with new people that are jumping on board. I know we're in conversations with other local participants, so I imagine our list is going to change probably even by tomorrow. I think RC Tacos is going to come on board, with this. And so with that, the program runs from June until July. It ends August 1st. So buy your BuzzBucks now, use them before August 1st. And so we hope to put 1,000 cards in circulation. And with this, I think the financial impact with this is probably, estimated to be about $30,000 to $40,000 of an economic impact just with this local fundraiser, which is wild. And so businesses can jump on board at any point. They can jump on board today, right? They can jump on board June 30th or July 20th. It doesn't matter, right? That's the beauty of it. It's not too late to get on board, whether you want to participate or if you want to sponsor or donate to this stuff. So that's where this whole program is dynamic. We post our list of our sponsors on our social media page and also by updating the website. So it's cool to just watch this really, truly grow.
I think too, Phil, is it would be amazing if they look at the list of businesses. Like when I reached out to Randy Olson Trucking, Randy immediately was like, "You bet, we're in." So if you need a load of black dirt, something like that. I thought too, Mr. G's, they were really good. They said even if we don't get any business, it supports the other local businesses in town. So that was the attitude that I thought was really cool because they're just recognizing that it helps everybody else. So I just hope people really look at that, the list of businesses and the nonprofits, and there's so much possibility for these businesses to recapture. And then what do? They turn right around and give it right back to the next program that comes in, that they come in and get asked for.
It truly is a win-win situation, though, and for the businesses too. It gets people in the door that they might maybe not been there before, or whatever the case might be.
I think that's really true. That a lot of times people say, I've never been in there before, and then they get in there and they see what they have to offer. So it's really cool that way as well, because they even if they don't spend something the first time, now they know what you offer, and they can come back and purchase from them down the road.
The money raised, obviously, it's going toward. You mentioned some of the scholarships and things like that, Coach.
Yeah, this year was the first year our youth football program gave a scholarship. So it's a nice way to kind of give back to the kids that have, come on board and they've coached or they've officiated or they've done something with our youth program. So it goes towards that. And I think that we have to be honest with people in the sense that there's a lot of financial hardship, within our community, and a lot of times that limits the opportunities for youth in our area. And so we will never turn a kid away, but we have to be able to kind of fund that. And so that's a big part of our fundraising efforts, is to make sure that we have money available, right, to offer in, these great opportunities, whether it's local or we bring somebody in to teach, to coach, or do something like that. Football is expensive, across the board. So not only opening up opportunities, right, but we also want to make sure that our equipment is up to par. And football equipment is extremely expensive. I think every kid that we outfit with equipment is about $1,200, from helmet, to shoulder pads, and then everything down there. So that's a pretty penny, right? And it's not good forever, right? Eventually that stuff breaks or expires or whatnot. So not only do we want to outfit that, but we also want to kind of invest in some more preventative safety gear as well. One of the big things that we are doing, especially with our youth football program, is we have purchased Guardian caps, for every single participant. So what that is, you've got your football helmet, you've seen them in the NFL, it's the caps that go over, there's more padding there. On those youth kids, it's going to be kind of comical, right? Because their head is going to be gigantic, but,
like an alien.
Right, exactly. But if it's one thing that we can do, right, to make the game safer, then we won't hesitate to do that. So we're looking at having more of those Guardian caps available. And the other thing we're looking at, too, is just cue collars. And that's something that's new. I think people may have seen them at the collegiate level and then the NFL level. They're kind of like collars that go around your neck, all right? And they're meant to kind of offer a little more preventative protection than for, any kind of hit, right? Whether it be head to head or, head to ground, that would prevent some kind of concussion. So, I mean, those are $200 a piece, with that. So football by far is the most expensive sport out there, right? And so that puts us in a situation where we just have to fundraise, right, to do this, and if we're going to do it right.
You mentioned how much it is to outfit a player. Is it that much for a youth player as well, or is it a little less?
It's a little bit less. I would say at the high school level, the average helmet is about $450 a piece. It's not top of the line, but it's not bottom of the barrel either. And so when you take a look at a youth helmet, those are about maybe $100 or so. But our inventory is something that we want to bolster up and make it better. And I would say those helmets, maybe start initially at 100, but the good ones are probably around 2 or so. So it adds up pretty fast.
And you have to recycle. I know the high school helmets for sure. How often do you have to get those turned in?
Those are typically, they have about a 10-year lifespan. But every year we send them in, right? And there's always a couple that are rejected for whatever reason that don't meet safety specs. And so then they're trash, they're junk, right? And so it's $400, $200, whatever, just out the window. And that's $50 a piece to recondition a helmet, fix the scratches, repaint it, and do all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of money that's tied up in just helmets, purchasing, and then just maintaining those. But what we want to try to do is make sure we're on a cycle. So it's not like every 10 years we've got to buy 40 helmets now. That's a crazy cost. So we want to try to do about 5 to 10 every single year.
BuzzBucks, this is exciting. There's a buzz in the community, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, I would like to say that that was happenstance, but that was intentional. We wanted to make sure there was a buzz. So I think initially there's a lot of uncertainty. What is this? I'm not sure how it works, right? But hopefully with word of mouth, with kind of talking with you this morning, and the stuff we're pushing on social media, people have a better understanding. Like I said, I think we're going to have a big crowd tomorrow. There's a lot of local events that are kind of in the works that we want to support, as well as business. And we're super, super excited about it.
And that's at Royal Bank?
Royal Bank tomorrow, 9 to 11.
Meet and greet with Michael Starks, probably, too.
I think
right?
he's taking vacation this week.
He is?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
He's
he
turning
planned
his
that
back
one.
on his public. Sheila, anything else you want to add today about BuzzBucks?
No, I just say check it out. It's definitely worth the money, to double your money in just supporting the program, and it's just, like you said, a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, it really is. And it's a really unique idea, isn't it?
It is. And I've always taught my kids, and beg, borrow, and steal. And so, if you
Not
see
to
a good,
steal.
not
Not to
steal,
steal.
all right, but borrow a really good idea. And this was just a phenomenal thought that, Mick and Southwest Partners had. And, we just saw the success in that. And, it just was a great way to give back to the community.
Sincerest way of flattery, right? If you borrow something and use it like that.
Oh, absolutely. No question. We've done it with a lot of our just, what we with football programming. We didn't reinvent the wheel. We just brought it a little bit closer to home.
Yeah, and it's interesting because everybody, every school district, everybody needs to raise funds, and, it's kind of not your typical thing, brought sales or whatever. You're doing a little bit differently then.
We are, and with our youth program, there's not a lot of grants out there for this. Believe me, I've looked to see what we can do to kind of apply for things. There's certainly some, and we've been fortunate enough to access those. But, when it comes to youth sports, people just, grant-wise, don't offer those quite a bit. And so that burden falls on whatever the local entity is, right, to kind of raise the funds that they need. So it's tough.
There's the QR code on the back of the Buzz card as well, so that's how it works, right?
It is, yeah. So if you're older like me, I've realized by talking to the young kids is you can just take your camera and you can hover over that QR code.
Yeah.
It'll pop up a link and it'll take you right where you need to go. So I'm the old guy in the room, when it comes to that. So I'm learning too.
Yeah, it's amazing. I might even be able to learn it. Sheila, you might be able to.
I just asked my grandkids to help me.
That's the best way. Yes. All right. Well, thanks for all you do for the community, both of you. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having us this morning.
Thanks, Phil.
Good luck, and learning about BuzzBucks has been fun, and the summer programs for area youth as well. Andrew Troxel, Sheila Troxel in the studio for this portion of the morning show.